Hi guys, my name is Staci Gogins and I am the art teacher at Rosenwald Dunbar Elementary School. Today we're going to be creating some magazine bowls. This project is wonderful because it allows you to repurpose and reuse things that you already have at your house. It also requires very few supplies. So I've made a quick little list. And I'm going to kind of show you some substitutes as well. You may want to pause the video once we go over the list so you can grab your supplies. But you're going to need magazines, clear tape, some sort of liquid glue, an old paintbrush, and wax paper. As I mentioned, old magazines. This is something that my son had, and he's already gone through and done all the activities. So that's what I'm going to be using. But you can also use old artwork, for example. You could use old mail if your parents have before they throw it away. You could use old homework. You just need some sort of paper. I like magazines best, but definitely use what you have available. The other thing that you're going to want to use is clear tape. So I am going to be using Scotch tape for this. You could definitely use packaging tape too. So if you don't have Scotch tape, the packaging tape works great. You just need some sort of clear tape. The third thing that you're going to need is liquid glue. You could use Elmer's. You could also use, if you don't have Elmer's, you could use Mod Podge. That also works great. That's what I am going to be using for ours. But again, if you don't have that, any sort of liquid glue will work just fine. You're going to need an old paintbrush, or a sponge brush will work too. I do stress that you use an old one just because we will be using this to apply the glue. And sometimes it's a little tricky to get that completely out of your brush. So you don't want to use your best paintbrush. Also, you're going to want a non-stick surface. I'm going to use wax paper. But this is just something that you're going to need to put the magazines down or the bowls down to be able to dry. So you'll need something that is non-stick. So that's what we'll be using. So go ahead and grab your supplies. And then when you're ready, you can resume play on the video. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is you're going to need to tear out all of the pages from your magazine. So I've obviously already done this. So I've got a stack of magazine pages, and we're going to be working with one at a time. Now, this is going to require a little bit of patience. So you may want to do this with a sibling. You may want to do it with your mom or your dad or aunt or your uncle, grandma, grandpa, but you just, you're going to want to definitely stay focused because we're going to need these to look all the same. So you're going to start with a corner. It doesn't matter what corner. You just need to pick a corner, and you're going to fold it over, and you can kind of see this. So it's not a very big triangle, but I'm just folding it over. Think about when you create origami, how you want to have nice crisp edges. So I do pull the edges once I've made that fold. And then I'm going to continue. So I'm going to fold again. And now this part is important. You want the width of your fold. If you can kind of see, I'm going to show you. It's about the width of my finger. So you don't want these to be 2-inch wide. You also don't want them to be a centimeter because that will not work either. So you're looking for something that maybe is about 1/2 inch, no bigger than 1 inch though. And you're going to continue that. So I'm going to fold it. And obviously I'm doing this in the air, but you can do this on your table. It will be a little bit easier. Okay. And you're just going to continue doing that. I can show you over here. Now you want to try to keep your folds so that they are roughly the same thickness or width at each end. So this is kind of where the patience comes in. I pre-folded a lot of these. In just a minute, you'll see I did this while I was watching TV. So it is something that once you kind of get in the habit, you can be doing while you're doing another activity, or even do a couple here and there and then come back if you're wanting to make a lot of these, okay? So I'm going to continue, and you can see I'm just making sure that I press down on my creases. This is something that will make my life a whole lot easier when I'm done. So when we get to the point where we just have a little bit of a tab, okay, that's where the Scotch tape comes into play. So I'm going to sit this down, and I'm going to go ahead and get my Scotch tape, and I just need a little bit. And I'm going to take just that corner, so you can see, I'm going to take just that corner, I'm going to fold it over, and then I want to make sure that I tape that down completely. So this ensures now that my first piece is going to stay. So it's going to stay folded even after I set it down. So I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to continue this process. So you're going to get your second magazine, and just as we did before, we folded a small triangle in the corner. We're going to then again continue to do that. Remember, focusing on the width of our fold. We don't want it to be much bigger than our finger. And you're going to do that all the way down. Again, remember, just creasing up, guys, it doesn't have to be, doesn't have to hurt your fingers. You shouldn't have to press down that hard, but you definitely want to have a nice fold on your paper. It makes it, will just make it a lot easier for you once we're done and moving on to the next step. So I'm going to continue pressing down all the way across, and you're going to fold until you get to that very end again before, and then before you reach the end, you're going to get that Scotch tape, and you're going to tape that corner down. So there's my little tab, and I'm going to get my Scotch tape again, and I'm going to just tape that corner down again. So you're going to do this really as many times as you want. Now, the more strips that you create, the bigger the magazine bowl is going to be. So I have created 25 for this project, but I have some other bowls that I'm going to show you. Like this one is one that's already completed, and you can see all of those circles that you kind of see in there. Those are individual strips. So this bowl had about 100 of the magazine strips. So again, 100% up to you. But if you want to make multiple bowls, if you want to make a larger bowl, then you're going to need more strips. So like I said, for today's project, I went ahead and just made, pre-made these. So I have about 25 of these for us. But if you want to make your bowl bigger, you're going to need to do more strips. Okay. So once you have your strips all the way folded, they're all, it's even kind of nice if you want to just make sure to run your fingers across to make sure they're nice and creased. They've got that nice crease in there. Now what you're going to need to do is you're going to need your Scotch tape again. Now, the nice thing about these, and this is the reason that we said we wanted to try to keep them the same width, because we are going to be putting these all together. So if you had one that was really wide and one that was really skinny, they wouldn't fit well together. So that is very important. So what we're going to do is on your fold, and I'm going to show you really close. So this is actually, because we folded on a diagonal, you have a little pocket. So inside that pocket, you are able to slide your other magazine in there. Okay, so once you slide it in, it just kind of goes right in there like a little pocket. Once you slide it in there, I'm going to get my Scotch tape, and you will slide it into, now it kind of already holds itself just because of the fold and the pocket, but we want to ensure that it's going to stay that way. So we're going to take, and we are going to tape those two together using our Scotch tape. And if it goes around the sides, you can just fold the tape around, especially if you're using the packaging tape, which might be a little bit thicker. So you do not have to do it on both sides. You can just tape one side. That would be completely fine. So I just did it on one. If you feel like you want to have a stronger connection and you want to do two, it's not going to hurt anything. It's just not necessary. Okay. So I've got two that are connected. I'm going to get another one, and I'm going to continue this process. So this is my long one that I've already created. Now I'm going to take the next one, this is a new one, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to slide it into my fold, just like so. Then I'm going to get my tape. And just as we did before, I am going to get a piece of Scotch tape, and I'm going to tape those together where they are folded. Okay. So here is the next one that is connected. So I currently have 3 that are connected. We're going to continue this until we have connected all of them. So I am going to fast forward and show you what they all look like. Okay, so all of my pieces have now been taped together. So I have one big, long magazine trail. Now, the next step is we're going to start going ahead to create the spiral, which is can be relatively simple, but if you have a hard time, here's a trick, which I did not include in the supply list, but if you have a pencil or a skinny marker, this will probably be the easiest way to get you started, okay, in terms of rolling it. So I've got my marker, and I am going to wrap my tail. This is just the end. It doesn't matter which one you start with, because you're going to spiral the whole entire thing. So we're going to wrap it, and I am rolling. Let me show you on this side so you guys can see. So I just have my tail. It's just kind of laying down next to me, even under the table. And I'm just rolling this along the marker. Now you can keep the marker in or the pencil in, or if you feel like you can do it without, you can totally slide that out as well. If you're tinier, if you have tinier hands, the marker might be better or the pencil might be better just to help keep you control it. Now this part is important, okay? You want to keep this wrapped very, very tightly. So as I show you a little bit closer, there is not any space between each wrap, okay? So as we're kind of twisting this and we're rolling the magazine up along itself, we want to make sure that we're keeping that very, very tight. Even if it takes you a while, if it starts to unravel, you need to fix it, because this part will, it's important. If it's not wrapped tightly, then your magazine bowl will most likely fall apart. So this part, I'm telling you, is very, very important, okay? So continue wrapping your bowl. I'm going to fast forward again so you guys can see the next step. Okay, so we've wrapped all of our strips up, so you should have one big spiral, and I still have the marker in it. I did not pull the marker out yet. You need to, before you pull the marker out, if you used one, go ahead and tape that edge just with a piece of Scotch tape to the other magazine right next to it. So now you can go ahead and pull your marker out, and you should have just a nice, really cool looking spiral. Now this right here, I love it because it's so colorful. The other magazines that I used were kind of neutral. So I love just even looking at this, reminds me of a lollipop or even a really cool pinwheel. So now we're ready to really for the final next two steps, and we'll be done. So you need your wax piece of paper, just a small enough piece because we're going to be adding the Mod Podge to it. So you're going to carefully, and I am using my thumbs on one side, fingers on the other. And all we're going to do is I'm pushing with my thumbs. I'm just slowly pushing the bowl out. Now, if I hold it this way, you can start to see that it's taking shape. It is really up to you if you want it to be taller, if you want it to have a smaller base, if you want it to have a wider base and not be quite as tall. And remember, depending on how many strips you use, that will really determine the size of your bowl. So you're going to push it without pushing all the way through. This, if you're younger, you may want to ask someone for help because you do not want to push it all the way through and then lose your complete bowl. So I am ready to go ahead and Mod Podge or use my Elmer's glue. So I'm going to get those supplies, and we are going to set your bowl down onto your wax paper. And all we're going to do is we're going to go in and just start Mod Podging or using the Elmer's glue, either way, and just painting it on. Now, guys, you want to be very generous with this, meaning that you want to get it in all the cracks. You want to get it in all the creases, because once this dries, it's going to keep its shape. If you miss any of those spaces, then it's not going to be as sturdy. So I'm going to do the outside first, and then I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to do the inside. So you're going to do all areas. Then once you're completely done, and you've Mod Podge or Elmer's glued everything. I used a matte Elmer's or a Mod Podge too. So you can see right now it looks white. It will dry clear, so you don't have to worry about that. But you may even want to do a second coat. So let this dry overnight would be great. And then you can look at it again and see if there are any spots that seem a little bit wiggly. You can just add another coat to it. So let me show you one that's already done and has dried overnight. This was 2 coats of Mod Podge, but it is sturdy. You can put things in it. I've created lots of them. They make great presents. And it's also just a really great way to repurpose some old magazines. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to take pictures of your creations and post them online, tagging the Jessamine County Public Library so we can see what you guys are creating.